Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Richard Vobes, and this is a Bald Explorer Live. I haven't done a Bald Explorer Live for a long time, and I'm not in my studio where I do my Vobe show. I'm actually in my office, or front room, as a lot of people call it. Now, I'm just going to lower that and make sure that people can hear me and see me. It's the usual thing with the stream. This is a much more informal sort of stream than the normal streams that I would do in the Vobe show, which is very much a show. So, I wonder if you can hear me. If you could tell me you can hear me, because I'm using a laptop. I'm using this microphone over here. I'm using the same camera, actually, that I do in the Vobe show. And I've got a couple of lights just up here to illuminate me. I've turned the other lights off, except a light at the back so you can see some of my books. So I have the comments a fair distance from me, so I'm going to try and read those. Wow. Hi, Richard. No, just about to have supper. All right, fair enough. Hello, everybody. So just to remind you, this is a Bald Explorer Live, not a Vobe show, just so you know. I haven't advertised this because I wanted to make sure this format works, so the people who are coming along here will probably just be people who know me. We've got Barry Stevens out there. Hello, Richard. I'm usually miss your live shows. Glad I've caught you. Hear you perfectly. Thank you. Marvellous. I'm using because I'm not in the studio, I'm not using my microphones and the big mixing desk. I'm using the Zoom H2 here this evening. Tim Williams, my brother in Japan, let me know you were live. Strange but true. This is the Bald Explorer Live, not the Vobe show, so it's a very different thing. I just want to stress that because people get used to seeing me doing the Vobe show live. Normally I've got a big monitor and I can see the comments. Here I'm working purely from a laptop. I've lashed it up this afternoon and I'm hoping it's going to work. I feel like I'm a bit scruffy here. Hang on a minute, let's sort out my collar. Love your channel, new to the channel, lived in Exeter for 15 years. Thank you very much, Clint. I may end up peering down. I haven't got my comments. I should, what I need is another little monitor on the side here so I can see the comments. This format is, I might try and do this once a week if this works, especially during the winter. The purpose of today, by the way, is I want to experiment by reading and having a chat with you about some old texts. Not texts like, dear mum, can you make sure the lights are on when I come home? Not that sort of thing. Texts, as in books, that relate to the stuff that the Bald Explorer is chatting, is going about in the 10-minute videos. I thought it'd be quite interesting if I was to read some excerpts from old books and then talk to you about it and get your opinion on it. Again, I think a live show is about interaction, but we need to have some meat and two veg to be discussing the interaction. So I appreciate that. Now, in this format, apparently there is something called super chats, which highlights you. Now, these super chats, I don't know if you've seen them on other things. You can pay like $1 or something and you get a super chat, which means you get mentioned. I'm not expecting anybody to do that, just so you know. This isn't a means of creating a revenue stream, although down the line maybe it's something we can look at. I don't even know if it's activated, so it may not work. But obviously you may talk to yourselves, and I know people do that as these things get more and more popular. It's different in the Vobe show, which is a show where I try and interact with you a hell of a lot more and read your comments out and come back. So that's nice. Ringer Ollie, nice to see you out there, by the way. Sorry about today, but what weather we've had. I have actually managed to film something, but I filmed it inside, which will come out tomorrow. That's nice. What happened to the funny fella Martin Snow? Do you know, Mr. T. Cow? I was talking to Martin, I think it was either this morning or yesterday. Time goes so quickly. It was either this morning or yesterday. He's very well. Unfortunately, at the moment, Martin is looking after his mother, who's been diagnosed with Alzheimer's and dementia, and that's pretty much full on. So he can't really get away, and he hasn't been able to help with the videos and that sort of thing, which is a great shame. He's very knowledgeable, but he's been tied up, unfortunately. But thank you for asking. I'm sure if he sees the stream, he'll be chuffed that you did. Lots of viewers already, says the lovely Julia. Thank you very much, lovely Julia. She is monitoring and making sure everything is all right. Any questions that you see I miss, have a word with lovely Julia Hartley there. She's very much my admin. She doesn't know that. I've just appointed her for today's live, which is great. Hello to all of you. If I don't miss, I'll try and call out your names and stuff, but it's a bit different to the Vogue show, which is different. If you've not heard of the Vogue show, maybe the lovely Julia could just tap in the Vogue show, which is an alternative YouTube channel that I run. Not everybody knows about it. It's a live show, and it's a fun madcap sort of thing. Very different to this. This is a little bit more serious. I think it needs 10 subscribers before Super Chat. Oh, yes, that's right. I think you're right. We've got 8. That's right. Don't think we can do that yet. So that's okay. I wasn't overly worried about that at this moment in time because, I don't feel it's right that you have to pay to ask me a question. Wiltshire Man says, hello, Richard and Julia. Hello, Wiltshire Man. Hello, Robert Baxter. Hello, Tim Williams. Hello, Francesco. Hello, John Hazel. Excuse me looking down. I'm just looking down at these. Who have we got there? I don't know how you pronounce your name. Maymet, is it Maymet? Kossel, I wish everyone a good evening. Lovely to see you. I'm pretty crap with pronouncing names. CMDR Mouse, hello. It's lovely to see you. Galexian, hello to you. Clint Brook, if you come to Shrewsbury, I'll buy you a pint or two. Coming up on the 25th, 26th, maybe up there for a couple of extra days in January. So that's the week after next. So actually I will be up in there. It's very quick. I've been meaning to admin for you for 2 years. Oh, yes, haven't I? But yes, you have. Anyway, so I'm just hoping I've got this little tablet here, which is supposed to be turning on. And now, of course, now that we do a live, here we are. It is turning on. I just got to wait for that to turn on. So in the meantime, so the idea of tonight is we went to Rusper. Lovely Julia and I went to Rusper a couple of weeks ago. We had an impromptu look around the village, and it was very lovely. We went to the church, St. Mary Magdalene, I think. And at the end of it, I said, if there's anybody who would like to tell us more about Rusper, I'd be fascinated. And the vicar... There we are, it's working. The vicar came forward, and a chap by the name of Nick Flint, and he yes, thank you. And he very kindly said, I'll tell you some about the church if you want to come back. And I said, oh, that would be fantastic. So back we came, just looking to see what that is. Oh, that's my microphone. Of course it is. Sorry, I suddenly saw it in the reflection, and I thought it was something behind me. So went back to see Nick, and we did an interview, and he told us about this book. Now, I had heard of this book, but I forgot that it was Rusper, and it's called 5 Years of Hell. Well, I've got a copy on here. Now, this has been sent in by Countryside Books. I need to get that right, because I did say that I would put a link in case anybody wants to buy the book. I think, actually, if you put it into Google, it's the only publisher that will come in. Now, I just got to work out how to find my downloads. I've downloaded a PDF onto this tablet. I've not used this tablet before. I thought it would be great. I had it on the page, turned the thing off to save the battery. And, of course, can I find the bloody file? So, file manager. I wonder if it's in there. Let's have a look. Otherwise, come on. Allow file manager to... Yeah, I just want to read... Yeah, whatever. No thanks. Cancel. Download. One file. Here we go. No thanks. 5 years. Here it is. Phew! For a moment, I thought I wasn't going to get it. 5 Years Hell in a Country Parish, it's called, by the rector of Rusper, the Reverend Edward Fitzgerald Synnott, M.A. So this is the book. I'm going to read. The chapters are about 3 or 4 minutes long to read. I thought I'd read a chapter. We could talk about it, read the next chapter, and so on, if you fancy that. This is a new format for me. I just thought it would be interesting to do a different kind of live. Alexis Williams, hello from Anglesey, and from Paul and I, hello to you. Lovely to see you out there. Hoping to come up to Anglesey, probably around March, end of March time. Andy Osborne says, when are you getting a boat? Well, we're going to hire another boat this year and make a decision about that when we've done that. We're thinking about going on the Peak Forest Canal. I'm hoping to see Richard and Fran from Floating Our Boat at the end of January. I think they've done that canal, and I want to talk to them about that and talk to them about floating, and we'll make a video and all of that, so that should be really interesting. Some lovely bookshops in Shrewsbury. Yeah, there's a very nice old bookshop in Shrewsbury. Then you've got the Market Hall. There's some bookshops in there. I think they're open on a Wednesday and a Saturday, if I remember rightly. There's Optimus Books, which does brand new books. And then there's the Oxfam bookshop, I think in Fish Street, if I've got that right. That's fantastic second-hand bookshop there. I have posted on FB BE page in the group. Oh, brilliant. Thank you very much, Julia. The Salty Train Spotter says it's funny. I don't know what's funny. Paul Sanders says you have more books than us. Yeah, there's books there. You can't see there's another shelf load there and a shelf to the side. I do love my books, and they are all around the house, actually. Dean Cooper says, good evening. Do you like Dartmouth? Dartmouth. I don't think I've been to Dartmouth. I've been to Dartmoor, but Dartmouth. I'd love to go down there. There's so many places. There are so many places. I'm not in any great rush because I hope that I can keep the Board Explorer going for years and years and years. And so all these places, at first I was thinking, oh, I've got to get there, I've got to get there, I've got to get there. And then I thought, well, I've got the rest of my life to do all this. Hopefully take the viewers with me, which would be great. We'd love to meet you. Come up to the island. Yeah, we're definitely going to do that. Sorry if I miss your comments, by the way. Mandy of Merrymark says, hi, guess I overslept. Trev's Travels by Narrowboat. Hi, Richard from Illinois. Hello to you. Lovely. This is interesting doing the live on the Board Explorer because we have so many more viewers, obviously. Let's have a look. We've got Lara says hello. Hello, Lara. Hello from Tokyo. This is, how do you pronounce yours? Tubuko or something? I'm crap at names. Please, I apologize. One, two, three, testing. Well, this has been a good Board Explorer. Alive. Glad I didn't get into the reading of it. I think we're up and running again now. Just going to get the comments up. Hang on a sec. Let's bung those over here. Right. How are we doing? Is that frozen or is that just me? Oh, no, I think that was just me concentrating. Well, we may well be live now. We may well be actually doing something. Just let me know if you can hear me again. I think we had a power cut or something nearby and there's been a bit of an issue. But looks like we are connected again. I'm hoping we are. Just need to wait now a few seconds to see if anyone's typing. I might just check with the lovely Julia to see if all systems are tickety boo. How annoying is this? We're just going to give her a ring on the phone. See if anything's happening here.
Hello.
Hello, you're on loudspeaker.
Hello.
Hello. According to me, I'm back live again, but I don't know if
You were about 10 seconds ago before you rang, but I was going back onto Facebook to re-establish that you're back.
Oh, right.
You lost
Oh,
a bunch of
okay.
viewers.
Oh, okay. Because I'm not getting any more comments.
Okay, bear with. Let me put you on speaker. Check it myself.
Okay.
Oh, I'm getting a thumbs up from the conservatory where I've left you live on there.
Oh, right. Okay. If people could just write some comments, anything, because just to make sure the chat thing is working, or I may have to, I don't know what to do with that, because it's, I think a few things crashed at the same time. How frustrating for the first Bald Explorer Live for so long.
Yeah, well, you had 56 viewers and it dropped down to 26, and now you've got 40 again. So.
Oh, right.
Carry
Okay.
on, sir. Carry on.
Thank you very much. I would just see if I can get if somebody could write some chat. Maybe they are. Nothing. The chat thing is not going at all. I've written techie issues was the last thing. Hang on. I'm just going to see if I can.
What was the last thing you saw?
I typed techie issues was the last thing I typed, and the last comments here was from John Hazel saying, "Oh, Totnes," and then it must have crashed. But everything seems to. Maybe I'm gonna close. Oh, hang on. Here we go. I'm gonna refresh that pop-out chat. Let's see if it's working now. Might well be working. Sorry about this, ladies and gentlemen. These bloody tech things. Our chat is working, Richard. Yeah, it's working my end now. Thank you, Julia. I think she's gone. Right. I'm so sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. No idea. There might have been a power cut somewhere. Oh. Somebody's ringing me now. Hello? Keep talking. Righto, Governor. Thank you. Bye-bye. That's great. That's Dave Ford. Keep talking, he says. So I will. What a nuisance. Anyway, shall we get on with the reading? I can see the chat now. I can see it's all working. So before there's another power cut and before everything goes, I mean, if you're not in the UK and you're not in the southeast down here, it is quite windy. We've had some terrible weather recently. And maybe there was a bit of a power surge or a power cut or something, and the internet crashed. But we're up and running again. Now I've got to see if I can find once more my text, because I want to read this to you because it is quite interesting. So this is 5 Years of Hell in a Country Parish by the Vicar of Rusper. This was written in 2015, I think, something like that. There's a foreword, there's a preface about the thing, but I'm just going to get straight into the first chapter. And all I need to tell you, really, is that each chapter is about 4 or 5 minutes long, and then we just want to talk about this and see what you think about it. So, chapter 1, it's called Rusper's Call. Rusper. 5 years ago, the number of persons who had heard of the village was very small. Now, through the revelations of life that goes on in this place, revelations that I and others were compelled to make at my trial before the consistory court, this obscure hamlet is known in every corner of the kingdom. Rusper has become a byword. It is a synonym. It is a synonym for slander, backbiting, and gossip, and as such it will probably appear in the standard English dictionaries in the future. For many years of my active life, the average country living held very few attractions for me, and I often said to my wife, if ever I accepted a country living, it would be in Rusper. I never sought Rusper, it sought me. To my great surprise, I received a letter one evening in February 1914 asking if I would consider the offer of a living. The patroness of the living, the late rector's sister, expressed the view of her deceased brother, whose last wish was that I should be offered Rusper. The parish needed a strong man, and I was the strong man selected for the work. I was not unknown to Rusper. As far back as 1908, my predecessor asked me to preach here for Dr. Barnardo's Homes, and each year until 1914 I delivered the annual sermon at the church. I decided to accept the offer of a living. It was on June the 22nd, 1914, that I came into residence, and I looked forward to the day as one of the red-letter days of my life. Everywhere I had been a success. In my youth, I was the Royal Irish Constabulary. I spent 6 of the happiest years of my life in this magnificent force. I won prizes in those days as an athlete. I competed in all forms of sport: football, swimming, fives, and boxing. I was champion boxer of the Royal Irish Constabulary for several years, and during this time I fought hundreds of hard-worn fights. Then I came to London, studied for the church, took my degrees, and became, in 1898, curate of St. Michael's of Southfields. After that, I went on to St. Matthias, Surbiton, in 1900, and in 10 weeks the church was filled, and the empty pews, and so on. Wherever I went, the congregation grew. I never preached to empty pews. And when I said farewell to one church, I was invariably presented with tokens of esteem to which the whole congregation had subscribed. I write these things not in a spirit of boasting, but to show the great contrast between the life of an average town or city church and that of a tiny village church, where gossiping is the chief social interest. Later, I went to Davenport as chaplain to St. John Jackson's employees of the Great Harbour of Caham. Again, I left with tokens of esteem to which over 2,000 people subscribed, and it was while working for Dr. Barnardo's Homes in the Diocese of Chichester and Winchester for 7 years that I decided to make the eventful change. I saw no earthly reason why I should not be as successful in Rusper as I had been elsewhere. During the last few years, when slander, the word of the coward, has cut many a throat by a whisper, that poisoned arrow shot in the dark was knocking at my door, when each morning brought a new sensation to whip me into desperation. I wonder that I didn't take the wings of the morning and fly to the utmost parts of the earth. I envied the cattle grazing in the fields. I longed for their quiet life. I envied the dog's life in the street. I envied the shepherd folding his flock of sheep. Daily the feelings of a man who was being hunted for some great crime was upon me. The days of the week were all the same. True, Sunday brought a slight change, but not for the better. Then I had to present a smiling face to my congregation, to some who I knew were doing their best to ruin me. Especially during the last 2 years did the cloud darken my home, and sorry about that. I'll do that again. During the last 2 years did the cloud darken my home and take the light from my eyes, so that I became oblivious of the passing of the seasons. For 2 years I didn't see the sun, moon, or stars. I knew the seasons when I broke the ice on the water for the cattle to drink. I knew it was seed time when my faithful foreman came and awoke me from my stupor and told me so. I knew it was summer when I stroked the horses I loved as they plodded around the fields to the whir of the mower machine. And even now I feel as one awaking from an evil dream. In the old classic, Horace tells us that when the Creator made man, he took one particle from one place and another particle from somewhere else, until the whole was blended into a man. Then he took a particle of a lion and put it into the man's heart. Often has this helped me, when I forgot, in the moments of spiritual darkness, that I was a minister and priest, that I was at rate a man, and a little bit, and had a little bit of lion in my heart. And that's the first chapter. I'll pause there. I think that's how you turn that thing onto pause. So this is the story of the vicar. He was about 6.5, 6, 7 feet. An Irish. I didn't read it in Irish accent because I crap at an Irish accent. Otherwise, I'd be reading it to Tarla like that, you see, which would make it into a comedy. I mean, so he tells the story of this guy who's come over here and almost immediately, this is like just over 100 years ago, the village are all transpiring to get him, which is quite bizarre, really. So what have we got? Would you like me to read another chapter? They're about 5 minutes. You can say no if the format doesn't work and you think this is rubbish, then do let me know. I will change my format. What have we got here? Julia says, all good. I'm going to sub, says grape juice. Hello, grape juice. Julia, Richard has a lovely voice for reading from books. I need to sort of get relaxed into it. Pictures frozen, but we got the vocal. Sorry about that. We've had a bit of internet issues this evening. Bit of a shame for his poor dog Paddy. Yes, the next chapter we hear about what happens to the dog and his horse. All back to normal. Picturing good now. All good here. Viewing from Wiltshire. Southwick, Joe Merchant, Ben Slater, Mickey Stevens. Still blowing a hooey. It is blowing a hooey, isn't it? I did think the Irish accent might add something, says Tanya Allison. Shall I try the next chapter in an Irish accent? Shall I? I will probably fail miserably. Good evening all and Happy New Year, says Henry. Hello, Henry. I don't want to upset anybody. We get a bit more into the story now on the second chapter. So this is chapter 2. They're very short chapters. I arrive. Hang on, I've got to get an Irish accent. I don't know whether he was Northern Ireland or Southern Ireland. The reading was still making me warm and snug. No pun intended, I'm sure, says Ed Loud. Oh, marvellous. Careful what you wish for. Yes. Right, hang on, I've got to get this Irish accent into my head. Because the only Irish accent I've got is a sort of cliche Irish accent. Now I'm stuck for words. Hello there. Hello there, what do you be doing? No, I can't do it. I can't do it in an Irish accent, because it'll be very silly. I'll try. Coming to Rusper was like entering a lovely garden, only to be blindfolded and marched over a terrible precipice. I remember well the golden day in June, when I saw my late residence at Worthing, empty of the last piece of furniture. How I harnessed my lovely cob Kitty and secured my faithful dog Pat to the trap. Kindly neighbours were at the door to wave me an affectionate farewell. They were at all. I have to do that just to keep the accent going, don't you understand? It was a 27-mile drive to Rusper. Kitty had often done 50 miles a day, so she took to her task kindly. Kitty was fond of eggs. Kitty's the horse, I think. Kitty was fond of eggs, which were cheap in those days. She took a dozen of them, new laid, in a quart of milk, and followed with 10 pounds of oats. We made 27 miles journey in 3 hours and 10 minutes. These two friends, Pat and Kitty, were soon lost to me. Pat was slandered very early. One morning when he was tied up in the kitchen, he was supposed to have crossed the path of a cyclist who was thrown and who unfortunately died the same evening. I heard that my innocent Pat was blamed for the accident, but my surprise was great and my sorrow greater when Pat disappeared shortly afterwards. Later, his tale was sent to me through the post, and I then knew that he had suffered at the hands of the local executioner. How's the Irish accent going down? Make that Irish. Hi, Richard. Sounds cool. Yes, I know. I'm not very good. Better than chapter 1. Thank you very much. Sounds like Father Ted. Blimey, leaping leprechauns. The Irish accent was good, but hints of Somerset. Heard. I could do it in Somerset. Let's try it in Somerset just for the laugh. Kitty. Imagine he was from Somerset. Hello there. Kitty too departed. I had to part. This is supposed to be a serious story. Kitty too departed. I had to part with her to obtain the funds wherewith I successfully defend my honour. Soon I had but one animal friend left, my dog Bob, who's like. Can you understand anything I'm saying? I don't think you can. I don't know where I've got. I'm going to go back to just normal language. Kitty too departed. I had to part with her to obtain the funds wherewith I successfully defended my honour. Soon I had but one animal friend left, my dog Bob. Funny he didn't mention Bob earlier, whose life for a time was also in danger. When I arrived at Rusper, my wife, who had travelled by motor car with my daughter and maid, this is 1914, isn't it? So few people would have been on the road, had been in the village for several hours. His wife had been in the village, okay. After grooming my pony and kissing her good night, I went into the rectory and drank a cup of coffee. To my surprise, the hard water had turned the coffee and milk to curdles. Was it a symbol of the cup of sorrow I was to drink during the coming 5 years? One of the drawbacks of this village is the water supply. Although the Surrey main is only 500 yards away, red tape and Bumbledon have kept the water out of the parish. There is, of course, the village pump, but like the United States, it has gone dry. And I assume he's talking about the time of, when Americans weren't drinking. And what do you call that? What do you call that time in America when they weren't drinking and you had the moon shaker? What was it called? Moonraker. No, not moonraker. The illicit. I can't even remember. Was it moon? Why am I saying moon? What is it called? Prohibition. Yes, prohibition. What's the moonshine? Moonshine. I knew it had a moon in it. Prohibition. Yes, thank you, Dave. Moonshine, moon liquor. What's he like, this fool? Yes. So anyway, like in America, like in the United States, it had gone dry, and the villagers must get their supply of water from what is popularly called the dip ponds, where cattle leisurely wade in summertime. Can you imagine? Imagine now, these days, going, oh, we haven't got any water, so I just nip down to the village pond and dip my cup in there and drink from there, where the cattle have been sitting. Imagine health and safety would not permit that. I had been indebted to my friends for my supply of drinking water, though on one occasion I was even refused water by a parishioner who had plenty to spare. When I handed the chalice of our redemption at the when I have handled the chalice of our redemption at the Holy Communion, and when those lips had touched and drank from that chalice, they'd been used to send a message that my invalid wife could have no more water, and I remembered the words of our Lord, a cup of water in my name. I'm not quite sure what he's talking about there. On the morning following the arrival at Rusper, I received a message from a gardener saying that 21 of the chickens that I had brought from Worthing, interesting that he'd come from Worthing, had been stolen during the night. This, my first night in the village. Ye gods! One would have thought I would have been given a chance to turn round and buy a paddock. A parishioner called the same morning and said that he knew there were thieves about, as the hair had been cut from his horse's tail, and his cattle had been turned into the road at night. This turning of cattle into the road, where they are likely to cause the terrible accidents to motor cars, appears to be a favourite pastime in Rusper. Some of the persons who do this have even the temerity to telephone the police and acquaint them with what has been done. It's a bit like, you know, when the IRA were blowing up London, they would ring them up and say, "Oh, there's a car bomb in London." Here, they're letting the cattle onto the road and then ringing the police and saying, "Hello there. I'd just like to let you know I've let some cattle out there onto the this Irish accent's a little better, don't you think? I think this is a little bit better there. Let's try with this one whilst I've got it in my head. Those early losses, they were beginning to be my misfortunes. The living of Rusper is only worth 180 a year net. I was receiving more than this when I accepted the living. I can't keep this up, you know. I was receiving more than this when I accepted the living. So that unlike the call of many cloth, I don't know what I'm talking about now. I've lost the thread of this. Basically he was paid less to go to Rusper. I came to Rusper without counting the cost. I was then worth some thousands of pounds. Today I possess nothing. Until I came to this luckless place, everything that I touched turned to gold. Today I could not produce a pound were I asked to do so." And that's the end of chapter 2. I probably don't need to read any more. I think the reading is a little bit strained here. Farmer Piles reading us a book I never thought I'd see the day, says Ricky Bryan. Well, there you go. I should have brought the pic. Yes, Farmer Piles. How do they do the tag? Keep up the good work, Richard, says Andy Bull. You're done, Julia. The show's tagged to the person. Okay. So anyway, that's if you want to buy the book, apparently it's available. I think it's from countrysidebooks.co.uk. I should have checked that. But if you put 5 Years of Hell in a country parish, it'll come up. I know I've buggered the reading up, but it is an interesting read nonetheless. So there you go. If there's a book you'd be interested for me to read, then do let me know. Linda Kane says, I just saw her, she said something. Oh, I've just read that as well. Talk about a bad job placement. Well, there you are, you see. It must have been very difficult back in those days. People weren't as well travelled. Although it was interesting talking about motor cars in 1914. It could only have been the rich who had motor cars. So he must have been well off if his wife was travelling by motor car, but he clip-clopped up there by horse and trap with his horse Kitty. I don't know what happened to... Oh, he sold his horse Kitty, didn't he, to pay for the court case. And then his dog was, I imagine, killed, and the tail posted to him. Poor old Pat. Poor old little Pat. Were there pictures in the book, says Dave? Yes. Let's have a look. I appreciate a reading of the A to Z map pages. Cure for creative response. Yes, okay. I will do that. Let's see. There are some pictures. Hang on, let's see. Here is a picture. Rusper in 1905 from the Night album. I don't know what the Night album is. Little had changed when Synnott arrived in 1914. Have a look at this. And of course it's tablets and their horizon thing. It was doing it a second. There we go. No, stop it. Ah. I just have to... I don't know why. I don't know why it's fixated on doing that. I'm just trying to see if there's a... This is not like my phone at all. Weird thing. Weird little tablet. Let's see if there's another picture in here. Yeah, I can't show you the pictures. It's got pictures. Can't show you them. Bloody tablet won't stay still. Won't even stay still for me. What a waste. What a waste of effort this is. Anyway, it's an interesting book. I think we'll It's an interesting format, this, that I've come up. This is an experiment, ladies and gentlemen. I just thought I'd give it a whirl. I think I'll stick with doing the Vogue show, which is much easier. Much easier to do. Ed Loud says, I appreciate... Oh, yes, I read that. Linda Kane says, I spoke to a chap you bought this from when I was looking for a copy for you. He said he's now waiting for reprints, but I see you've downloaded... Yeah, he gave me a PDF version. I said I would read some bits out and see if anybody was interested, really. I think I've bastardised it enough, and I don't suppose anybody would want it. Ed Loud says, see now, you wouldn't have this trouble if the picture was on paper. You're absolutely right. Bloody technology. Technology is good for some things, but for other things, if only I could just hold up that picture, that would have been... The Night album was okay, but I prefer A Shabby Road. Yes, me too. Oh, Richard. Is that a Kindle Fire? No, this is... I don't know what this is. It's a tablet, obviously. I didn't, but it was a gift. It's really for my drone. But if it keeps faffing about, like, auto rotate. Hang on a minute. Portrait. Auto. Can I? Hang on, I'm just trying this auto rotate thing. Just seeing if that will... I want to stop it. Stupid bloody thing. No, I've just switched aeroplane mode on. Where's it gone? Ah! Bloody technology. I'm not having anything to do with it. Give me a book. I've got books. I've got loads of interesting books. And the one thing I wanted to start with was on a PDF. I'll have to get him to send me the book. At least I can hold up the picture. That would be better. If you put the menu bar down on the tablet, you can turn auto rotate off. Well, it only sticks in portrait, and I wanted it in landscape, which is a bit of a nuisance. Scroll down the screen, turn... I've tried... Yeah, don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. So true, Richard. All right, don't give up. They say, don't give up. Hang on, I'm trying to... I've lost the... Oh, I see. It's there. Wait, I wonder if I do this. Landscape. Hey! Okay, let's get that picture again. Oh, isn't that a nuisance? I can't win with this. You see, I want the picture to be here. It just won't do it because it's on a PDF and it won't play games. But anyway, that's the street. Oh, I've gone the wrong way now. Here's the inside of the church. Apparently not much has changed in the 100 years. I'm losing the will now, ladies and gentlemen. Don't know, think there's not that many pictures. Okay, I've lost the will. I'm turning that off. Stupid bloody thing. I wish there wasn't so many people watching because this is embarrassing. Hey ho, what can you do? Let's see what other pick. Ricky says if you put... I've read that. Okay, Ed Loud says so true. Yes, boy, glad you brought it up. This is almost as got watching a little bit nip cozy. Instead, let me tell. I've got another book. I won't read to you any of this. This is I've got some more chapters of that to read. This has got pictures in. This is a nice old book. This one. Look, there's a dew pond. There is a dew pond. See. The trouble with doing a live is when things don't work out, I start going silly. Here's a little shepherd. This is around Ditchling. Now, I want to make a video going back round Ditchling area because this is a book called Round About Sussex Downs by a chap called Frederick Wood. It's an old book that's published in 1924. In the days when farming was like this. this was what people were doing with their farming. See them big fat oxen there, and the farmer going over there with this Sussex accent, which is not what I'm doing. That's proper farming. This is all round. This is round Ditchling, and the interesting thing about this book is it's quite disturbing. It's a disturbing read because this is about a guy who lives in a house. He doesn't locate. He says, "I'm in this little village." He never tells you what the village is, but he tells you about Ditchling. He tells you about Street. He tells you about the Ditchling Beacon. And you look, and I was looking on old maps, which was about the right same sort of time. And I was trying to, and he describes there used to be in Underhill Road, there used to be a toll gate, not far from him. So I was trying to work out where's the toll gate. I was trying to pinpoint where this geezer was who wrote the book. There's his little dog. Shot, it's called. The brainiest dog I ever knew. And look at that, it's a little terrier. And so 100 years ago, up on the downs, there were hares, there were stoats, there were weasels, there were rabbits, there were foxes, there were numerous birds, loads of butterflies, but moths, so many moths and butterflies. Hang on, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you here. This is. I just want to show you here. When you go out walking over the downs, how many butterflies do you think you see? How many variety of butterflies? So here we are. Look at this. This is the page. This is a list of butterflies. Look how many there. Sorry, it's a bit overexposed. I'm trying to. There we go. That is a list of the butterflies. There's just so many of them. And then on this page, moths. The different variety of moths. Right? That's that page. I don't know how many is on that page. About 50. More moths. All moths. More moths. All moths. These are moths he collected. And more moths. 3 pages of moths. Common footman, common heath, marbled carpet, common pug, common quaker, common rustic, common swift, common wainscot, common wave, all these different moths he was able to identify. Who can identify moths these days? Grass emerald, green brindled crescent, green carpet, green pug, mottled umber, mouse, nested pug, the November moth. These are just moths. I mean, it just goes to show that modern farming and the intensive farming that we have at the moment is just blighting the insects. Birds seen in the district, loads of different type of birds. Flowers, so many. This is pages and pages of flowers, different types of flowers found over the downs, just over the Sussex Downs. Now when you go, it's grass, some moss, some clover, some gorse, barely anything. And yet 100 years ago, he was seeing all this sort of stuff. It's a crazy thing. And here we are, Underhill Gate. This is the toll gate. Table of tolls payable at the gate by a local act the 25th to the 26th Victoria. For every horse, mule, or other beast drawing any carriage of whatsoever description, the sum of threepence. For every horse, mule, ass, or other beast laden or unladen and not drawing, the sum of 1 pence, or 1 pence. For every ass or goat drawing any truck, cart, or other carriage or vehicle, the sum of 1 pence. For every drove of oxen, cows, or neat cattle per score, the sum of 10 pence. And so in proportion of any greater or less. Anyway, it goes on. Don't know if you can hear that noise in the background. That's the washing machine. I'm just going to... Just had to turn that off. It is an amazing book. I want to go back there and I want to try and explore and try and find some of the things that he mentions in his book. What is that? Collected, AK killed. Oh yes, well, collected and killed. Yes, you're quite right there, Linda Kane. What else have we got here? Tanya says, I saw a stoat crossing the road up by the trundle. I was going to say, does anybody see stoats anymore? When I was reading it, I thought, golly, stoats, aren't they extinct? I mean, I didn't really think they were extinct, but they must be pretty rare. And weasels, do we still have weasels? I do miss the South Downs, says Ben Slater. Yes, well, luckily I'm here at the foot of them, which is nice. Dogs go free then. Yeah, well, the thing that what was worrying is he would go for a walk and he would just quite casually say, went up on the downs and, blah, 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 walked, saw a hare sitting there in the path, shot it, took it back. I thought, what? And I don't know whether you're allowed to do that, just wander around with a big 12-bore shotgun and just go, oh, there's a hare. 100 years ago, that clearly they were plentyfold and causing farmers a bit of a problem. Shooting hares, shooting rabbits. He shot a stoat. It's full of anecdotes. He said the other day, not the other day, I read it the other day, he didn't say it the other day, I'm sure he's dead. But he said he went out the other day and he saw this stoat and he shot the stoat and the farmer came running up to him and gave him a good ticking off. And he said, oh, why are you so worried about a stoat? And the farmer said, yes, but you know how a stoat operates. And a stoat will chase a rabbit, apparently, catch the rabbit. It will kill the rabbit and only drink some of its blood and then leave the rabbit on the ground. So if you if you see a stoat and then you'll know that there'll be a dead rabbit nearby and that the dead rabbit will be fresh. And so the farmer was berating him for killing the stoat because for the last week he had noticed where the stoat would go and kept finding these freshly killed rabbits that he hadn't had to chase. And he was having rabbit pie all week. And now his little hunter of these rabbits had been killed. But it is quite gross the way they go out and, apparently a stoat, here's a bit of a country-wise stuff. If you see a stoat and it bolts for a hole, it'll go in any hole it finds, it'll go in. But one thing it will do, guaranteed, according to Frederick, whatever his name is, it will go down the hole and then a second later it will turn around and poke its head back up to see whatever it was has gone. Knowing that, he would see a stoat go down a hole, he would take the gun, put the gun level with the hole, and wait for the stoat's head to come back up, bang, and blow its bloody brains out. How awful is that? I mean, so I'm finding it very hard to read this because he's just going around killing these things. But clearly, back then, these weren't endangered or they weren't rare or whatever. They were a common problem. I saw a stoat on Devil's Dyke last year. Oh, well done, Aril. I think this person lived in West Merston, maybe. Yeah. Has he gone around shooting people? Patrick Rose says, you'll have to be careful with weasels. They tend to go pop. Yes, that's true. Tanya says, wasn't a weasel. Weasels are weaselly recognisable, but stoats are totally different. Love it. Ricky Brain says, I have a book on Historical Atlas of Sussex. It has plenty on the... Sorry, my mouse is in the way there. It has plenty on the make-up of the land. I'll scan over the comparison from parts to the modern day. Yes, do. Send me a scan or two. It would be interesting to go stalking, comparing an old map with a modern map. I think that would make a nice video. Greetings from Aberystwyth. Greetings to you, sir. Who's that? Turin. Nice to meet. Ed Loud says something. And Jay Bradshaw says, why was the moth so unpopular? He kept picking holes in everything. Very good. We got some real jokes here tonight, says Linda K. Yeah, you don't get any jokes from me. Dave Ford says, stoats never dig their own burrows. They borrow burrows and nests of other rodents. It's very sad. There's a chapter of him talking about rabbits and how they go rabbiting. Not, chin wagging. They go rabbiting and how they dig them out. And they were sending ferrets down. And the ferret will go down and chase the rabbits right down to a point where they get all scrunched up in the burrow right at the end. And he describes this process, and then they dig them out. And very often they're dead, where they've suffocated more than been eaten by the ferret. Or some get eaten, and they're all squished like that, and then they get dug out, and then they're quickly dispatched. I suppose because we're no longer country folk, and we're all in towns, it seems so horrible to treat creatures. Well, to me, it seems so horrible to treat creatures these ways. And you go back 100 years, and then from then on backwards, of course, this was just how country folk dealt with things. A lot of animals were pests. They were also a food source, like rabbits. And you just dealt with them the only way you could. So although I'm horrified when I read these things, it is interesting from an academic point of view. I wouldn't want to do it myself and kill the animals in that way by any means. Of course, I wouldn't want to kill animals. But it's interesting. You have to put yourself into their mindset. And you can't really reproach them for it because that's how they did things back then. Robert Dandy says, Darren. He says, hello, evening. So that's evening to you. Wiltshire Man says stoats have black tip on the end of the tail, whereas weasels are smaller and have no black marking. Yes, he does. I thought he had a picture of a stoat in here, or a diagram. I thought he had a picture of a stoat. Quite where it is. He does describe the stoats. Some of it is a bit weird. In there, he talks about how you can track rabbits and how you can track hares and the difference of their things. He's obviously got very little to do, this bloke, but back in those days, that's how it was. Robert Baxter says, I think badgers are part of the same family as stoats. Is that true? What's all this Vogue show on a Tuesday? Just found that you are broadcasting what's happening. Andrew Norris, this is the Bald Explorer Live, not the Vogue show. So this is a different format. I'm pulling out some of my historical books. I was doing a bit of a reading from the five years of hell in a country parish, but I think I mangled that up so badly that people couldn't bear it, so I've stopped doing that now. But I wanted to find some interesting bits to do a different kind of show. This is all about the landscape, heritage and nature. And at the moment we're discussing the animal wildlife of 100 years ago. Now, it'd be interesting in Croatia. Are hares, stoats, weasels still abundant? And do people still shoot them? And do they still take rabbits for rabbit pie and that sort of thing in Croatia? Because I know the farming techniques are very similar to 50 years ago. So there's a question for you, Andrew. Stoats, weasels, polecats, pine martens, wolverines, badgers, ferrets, all the same family. How do you pronounce that? Mustelade. Is that mustelade? Something like that. Julia says, we hardly see wildlife. It's so horrifying to know that folks actively seek it out to maim it. And I think it's horrifying now when we are more civilized, more educated, supposedly sophisticated, that people do this. I can understand 100 years ago, country folk were country folk, weren't they? And they just did things like they used to do. But now we're a little bit more serious. There are pine martens and wild boar in our village, says Andrew. That is amazing. By the way, Andrew, I saw Sid today, Sid DeCosta. He's working on a coaster with his head. We had a cup of coffee, earlier today. Lovely bloke, really nice chat. Had a lovely cup of coffee. He bought me a sandwich just before I came back to do the show. Very nice chap. He was telling me he was singing your praises left, right, and centre. Just so you know. And squirrels. Yes, you see, we used to have red squirrels, and in this book, this is a fantastic book, by the way. This is a recent book, recently updated. I don't know if you can see that. The Decline of an English Village. This is by Robin Page. I've just read this. I would, if you're interested in what's happening to the countryside, then I would really recommend reading this book. It's an absolute joy. Robin Page has lived on the farm that he was born in all his life, and he talks about life. I mean, it's so beautifully and whimsically written. It is beautiful. I may on another occasion read a snippet from this, because obviously it's in copyright and what have you. Won't be able to read too much. But I really recommend this. He talks about the village life, and it is hilarious. It's hilarious how, again, this is 1950s. He's talking about 1950s. It's so interesting how life was in a village. The way people communicated, the way they dealt with issues, the way they knew the countryside, the way they got on. They could name the flowers, the trees, the plants, the fish in the brook, the birds, the insects, the butterflies, and all of that. They knew this stuff. It was all around them, and they knew it. And now, who knows the names of butterflies, birds, trees? Fish, unless you know you're a tree surgeon, or unless you're a fisherman. Nobody knows this stuff, and this is nature, and this is so important. And in this book, he spends a long time, many chapters, really installing you in the village of what it was like when he was a kid, and he recalls all this. It's hilarious, it's charming, it's beautifully written, it's fantastic, and he updates this 3 times. One is something like 35 years later, then there's 15 years later after that, and then there's today. And that's the latest edition. And he talks about how the tractors came in, how modernisation came in, how the commuters came in, how the fields that he played on, the brooks, and all of these things are tarmacked over, how the M11 is put up towards Cambridge. It's just south of Cambridge. And it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking when you read all this, how his farm, parts of his farm is sold off. The characters that he's spent... I don't know what that was. Oh, that may be my thing. The characters that he's spent this time describing, how they've left and they've died. Even the squire, who's this barking mad bloke who's got loads of money and is saving everything, not so much to hoard, but he won't spend a penny, and it's the way he tells the story. It's really, I really recommend it. It's well worth the money. I can't remember what I paid for it now. I paid about, I think it was on a discount at the time. I paid about 12 quid. It's hilarious. I'm not, I have no Amazon affiliate links with this. Just put it into wherever you get books. Decline of the English Village. I'm so enthusiastic about this book. It was just so beautifully written. And then at the end, he talks about the things that's happening to the countryside, the loss of the insects, the loss of the diversity, the intensive farming that farmers are doing and forced to do. He doesn't. When he finishes this, he doesn't know that Brexit is happening. He knows. I think he knows there's a referendum, but he doesn't know the result of it. And he talks about how the EU. So if you're a Remainer, you may not want to read this, but he talks about how the EU have put down so many rules that have made farming the thing that has killed a lot of farming and changed rural life, and modernisation, this globalisation. And he talks about that at some length. And it's just fascinating. Even if you disagree with him, it's interesting to get his view. It's just a very beautiful book. he set up something called the Countryside Restoration Trust. I'm hoping to interview Rob. I've been in touch with them, hoping to go and visit some of the farms. They've now been buying up farms, and their answer is not just rewilding, which is something that's happening. I know they're doing that at NEP, but rewilding and farming, because it's all very well rewilding bits of land, but we still have to farm the land. And so his argument is that we should rewild, but with a emphasis on how you farm and rewild at the same time, so that man and nature can live together and work together and not destroy one another. Whereas rewilding is really just that business of, here's a plot of land, it's keep humans off it and let the rewilding happen. As well, at least that's how I understand NEP is doing it as a model. And I've got nothing against that as such. It's fine, you're almost making sort of safari parks, natural safari parks, as it were. But if we could change the countryside back so you could have modern farming practices, but with a much more sensitive nature to nature, and rewild and bring back, he talks about the red squirrels, how the red squirrels were abundant and how they were, they were beautiful and all, and then the grey squirrels come in, and we almost have forgotten all of this. This is the thing that worries me. We've just forgotten all of this. Anyway, it is a very beautiful book, and I thoroughly recommend that. Robin Page. I wonder if you have read Arkenfield, Richard. I have Arkenfield. I haven't read all of it. I've read a bit of it. I have it on my shelf. I'm just looking. I am just looking. I've got a number of those old books. Arkenfield. I feel it's over here. I've got a bookshelf over here. I know I've only got a little paperback of it. I can't read the titles from back here. I will try and look it up. Yeah, it's again, that's another beautiful book. Carl Townsend says, I watch you on your journeys. Love it. You are a legend. Thank you very much. Thank you. That's very kind of you. I think the people who had more time for each other and nature too. It was the pace as well. That's the other thing he talks about. People would lean on their gait and they would natter, and he said one of the things, it's interesting, one of the comments that he says in the book is that he's told that his standard of living in the modern world has gone up. And he says, yes, this is the bit I must read out, because this is so relevant. Can't remember where it is now. It's near the back of the book. It's almost right at the back of the book. I must just see if I can just find this last bit. I thought it was right at the end. It's so, he puts it so well. Bear with me, sorry. Just trying to see this lovely phrase. It's so, I'm just, because I'm never going to find it now, am I not? Basically, he says, oh, what a shame. He says, oh, I can't find it. I can't find it. It's just, I was just saying to somebody how in my shows I don't like to have dead air when you can't talk, but I'm just trying to find this bloody thing. I thought it was right at the end because it just hit me. Anyway, I can't find it, but essentially what he says is that his standard of living, he's been told his standard of living has gone up. He's got fast internet. He's got, devices that will do all sorts of things, phones and things. He can telephone people in the other side of the world. He can do video conversations like this. He can sit on a train and write things on a laptop. The amazing advancement. So his standard of living, he can set the temperature of his room before he can switch the cooker on before he gets home. His fridge can order milk and all this. So the standard of living has gone up amazingly. But he says, but I'm not so much worried about that. It's my quality of life has gone down. I've got more noise. There's more traffic on the roads. There's more pollution in the atmosphere. The butterflies and the insects have all gone. The pace of life is so fast. Everything's 24/7. There's light pollution from the street lamps all day long. And he talks about the difference between the standard of living, and he puts it so much better than I am, and the quality of life. He says, my quality of life has gone down as a result. And he remembers back in the 50s, you could go out and look at the sky and it would be quiet. You'd hear the owls and the various birds at night and the bats and things, and you'd see the stars, and now everything's lit by these halogen lights or these orange, whatever they're called, lights. And and the thing is, all of this is so fast. Arkenfield would be a great book for Richard. Yes, I think it would. Have you ordered it? Hi Richard, enjoying the live stream. Hello Connor, thank you so much. I'm sort of a bit disorganised today, but this is a bit of a test really on the talking about heritage, landscape and nature. I was trying to read some bits from books and just talk to you about bits and pieces. And of course, it's all been a bit of a... How long have we done, by the way? I have no idea. I don't know what time I started. I started at it says here 3:15. That can't be right. Oh, I'm over time. I've got to stop. Robin Page is a very interesting chap to listen to, although he can be controversial at times. Yeah, I'd be interested to know what bits are controversial. Nothing wrong with a bit of dead air, says the lovely Julia. Well, that's true. You get to stop listening to my voice. Are you thinking of exploring anything in London? Jamie Boy, good question. London. I've avoided London. There's a lot of people who sort of do stuff in London. It's very congested. I don't like London because it's so damn busy. I have recorded things in London before, but the noise of the traffic and the cars and the hustle and bustle of people, there's so much history, and I've got some lovely books on the history of London and things like that, which would give me tons of inspiration. And I know it would be the sort of thing that would get more YouTube viewers and things. I realise that. You can't drive up there because parking is expensive. It's quite expensive on the train. So, and it's a huge city. I would need a lot of arm twisting, I think, to do London. But it's a good one. Anyone else know Derek Tange's Minack Chronicle books? Is that not Tangi? Is it Tangi? Robert Braxer says, I'm going to have a look at it on Amazon. Anyone else? Oh, yes, read that. Are you thinking of it? I've read that. M. Brake says, I remember when I was a young man and used to natter for hours to the next door in the front garden. Now I don't even know the name of my neighbour on both sides. Isn't that true? Isn't that so true? We don't know who our neighbours are. We don't even know if our neighbours are from the same traditions or culture from where we come, to have something in common to talk about. Dave says, I believe he is very pro-hunting, which not all folk agree with. That's very interesting. Who was it I was listening to on the... I can't remember. He was on the... There was a chap... Oh, what's his name? Famous bloke. He was on the Today programme. He edited he was a guest editor on the Today programme on BBC Radio 4. And he, very interesting bloke, lots of good stuff about the countryside, about preservation and all this sort of stuff. And I agreed with him on everything but he's pro hunting. And that, and of course, some people just find that so abhorrent they can't then listen to any of his other views. And I know that Robin Page is the same, that he likes hunting, and he wrote a book about hunting. I want to get his book on hunting because I want to understand why hunters like to hunt, especially the pageantry with it. I think if you've got to deal with pests, there's got to be a quick, humane way to deal with them. I don't like the idea of hunting. I don't like the idea of dogs attacking hounds attacking an innocent animal. I mean, it's true that of course foxes attack other things, but this is how nature is. It is quite unnatural for a pack of hounds to go chasing after a fox, because a pack of hounds don't normally live in the countryside and generally are not bred to do that one thing in a pack. And then the whole pageantry of making it. I mean, if people want to dress up and go galloping over the countryside with hounds and things, I've got no problem with that, provided they're not trespassing. But to go and kill a living being in the name of sport, and then say that it's a way of dealing with pests, I think is just absolutely abhorrent. Dave Ford says, oh yes. Bradshaw says, ever thought of a long distance footpath, Richard? Yes, a long distance footpath. I have thought about that. And the thing that stops me from doing that is, I suppose, because I'm doing a daily show or a daily video in 10-minute bits. I've watched other people. There are plenty of people who are doing these long distance ones. After about the third video, either they're too long for me, and by the third video of it, I'm pretty bored, because there is so much that's very similar. And I think you could break them down into, these are the highlights of it. But also you've got to find somewhere to stay. I need to carry, you need all the stuff that you need, your laptop, your cameras, your change of clothes. You need to have booked in all the bed and breakfasts, or a tent if you're going to do it wild, but then you need all the electricity and stuff. And it's not that I don't want to do the walking or the camping or all of that. But my approach to all of this is not, I always think I'm making a video about walking. I'm not walking and making a video. So I'm thinking from a filmmaker's point of view generally, and going, this is a program about walking, not I happen to be filming me when I'm walking, if that makes sense. So I'm constantly thinking, I'd like to get this shot, I'd like to get that shot, I want to film it like this, I need to do this, as much as I can. And I don't like too much shaky vision. I'd like it to be succinct as possible. I don't know if any of that made any difference. Ramy Boo's just turned up. Hello, Ramy Boo. Playing devil's advocate, hunting did provide a lot of jobs for the country people. And that's very true. See, that's why I'm interested in reading his book, because obviously it's employment, and employment gave people something to do. So I'm not one of these, I think it's abhorrent and I don't like it. But at the same time, I'm not saying I want nothing to do with it, I'm not going to find out more. I think it's important to find out about the things you don't like, so that you can understand how the other person thinks. It may not, hopefully it won't change my mind, but to think how the other person thinks, so I can understand what their standpoint is, I think is very important. I can disagree with Robin Page on hunting at the moment. I don't know enough about hunting to understand why it's that important and what it does. It may be that it has evolved as a very, not so much now, but it traditionally as a way of involving more of the village, as you say, giving people a lot of employment. You're sacrificing one animal in order to benefit a whole load of other people. And that may be how it came about. And I don't have a problem with that. because it's in the past. I have a problem with it if we're trying to do that now, because it just seems not necessary, and that we could deal with the pest side of it very differently and more humanely. And also, most of the country don't like it now. It's the Bald Explorer Live. Oh, yes, thank you, Julia. It's the Bald Explorer Live rather than the Vogue show. There'll be a Vogue show tomorrow. I don't get any time off, by the way. I don't have any time off. Dean Cooper says, I've got to go. Yeah, I've got to go, really. No video tonight, Julia. Yeah, there will be a video later on tonight. It's all recorded. It will go out at 4 o'clock in the morning, my time, 10 o'clock at your time, Lisa. So don't panic. Nigel says, if you don't remove anything from the foreshore, you don't need a license, Linda. Not quite sure what that... I obviously missed that. My blood is boiling already, says the lovely Julia. Julia does... I know Julia is very, very passionate and anti-fox hunting, and I love her for it. I am very passionate that it doesn't happen, but I am willing and want to learn the other side of the argument so I can appreciate it and understand it. It's not going to change my mind. It'll help me understand why traditionally it's done. That's what I really want to understand. Today, I don't think it's necessary, and it's illegal anyway. So it shouldn't happen. And I know it does, but it shouldn't. But I do want to understand why that comes about. I did read... Has anyone read... what is that fabulous book? Fabulous book and a superb film. Is it the Boundstone Fox? The something Fox? Beautiful film. Made by the same people who made Taka the Otter. And it's a beautifully written book from the fox's point of view. And it's a lovely book, and it teaches you actually so much about what fox hunting is about and the relationship between the hounds and the keeper and the owner and all of that. What is it called? Roundstone Fox? Something like that. The Roundstone Fox. It's a beautiful book. I read it about 6 months ago. I can't remember. Chris Packham should be knighted, says Galaxian. Good job for you. I already understand why folks do it. Yeah, I mean, I understand that you know that, and I appreciate that, and I have no problem with that. I don't. I just want to learn both sides. I try to do that with all sides of the argument. You know, there's a lot of things like this Extinction Rebellion people and what they're trying to do with their scaremongering that the world is going to end and that global warming is this huge thing. Well, I'm sceptical on all of that. I'm sceptical because the more somebody tells me something is going to kill us all, the more sceptical I am, because people have done that through the centuries, and actually they've all turned out to be lies, generally. So the more that there's mass hysteria about something, rather than just go, yeah, that's right. Oh, yeah, no, I believe it because everybody else believes it. And everybody else says, oh, but the science is done. It's like, well, is it done? Science is never done. If somebody found a way to prove that gravity was not 100% reliable and could demonstrate that, we would believe it. If we could... You know, if we could see, if somebody said there is a way of seeing thoughts, actually seeing thoughts coming out your head. I mean, we don't think that we can see thoughts. But if there was a way to actually see it and someone could say, yes, if you put this sheet in front of you, you can actually see them. They do radiate out your head. We would then start to believe. So I never think science is done until someone, you know, disproves something or proves it. We can say generally that's the accepted theory, and the theory is that, but science is never done. So with the climate change things, I am open to the opposite viewpoint. And usually, as I say, if the world is telling me, oh, well, you know, it's all going to go wrong, I'm going to think, yeah, but is it? Let me do my own research there and find out. So with the fox hunting, it's the same thing. I do want to just look at the other person's point of view, even if I don't agree with them. Richard sounds like one of those kids at school who goes against the trend, just like me. Yes, exactly. Just like that. Chris Hedges says, done a lovely walk from Church Hill by Lyons Farm to Sisbury Ring and back. Started by the Saxon Church. Lovely. Absolutely. Lyons Farm, there's some lovely walks at the back of there, and you go over the farm. I know where you mean. It's lovely up there. Are you sure it's not walking away from you? Yes, Ballad of the Bellstone Fox. There we go. Thank you. Who said that? Was that Patrick Rose? There we are. I thought for a minute it would be Linda Kane. Julia says, are we losing more and more species every month? Extinction is happening. Yes, I completely agree. I mean, you know, you only have to read stuff about people's experiences, as I was doing at the beginning here 100 years ago, and you start to realise just how much we're losing. We've got to ask, why are we losing that? And is it down to us? Anyway, I think I'm going to end the stream now because I've been going on extremely long, Lee. So thank you very much for tuning in. I'll do one of these perhaps in another month's time. Maybe not 8 each week. I think that might be too much. But maybe in a month's time, maybe do 12 of these a year or something like that. Let me know what you think. I very much appreciate you humouring me in my... I'm getting very hot because the fire... I've got this wood-burning stove in the front room here. And it's very efficient. It's very nice. And it's on at the moment, and I've got the door shut and the heat is, and I shouldn't really have a jumper on really, because I'm perspiring now. Anyway, I need to go and sort out the thumbnail and the description for tomorrow's video and get that sorted up. I need to pack up the lights. You can't see all this, so there's a couple of lights here: laptop, camera, microphone, all this sort of nonsense. But thank you so much for coming along. I hope it's been entertaining at the least. Don't forget the 5 Years of Hell. I think it's from Countryside Books, something like that. Put it in Google if you're interested. The Robin Page book is one that we looked at, and Roundabout Sussex is another one that we looked at. Thank you for your time. Thank you for coming along. I hope you enjoy the rest of the videos. Tomorrow night, I will be in the studio, which is behind this wall, doing something called The Vobe Show. 8 o'clock UK time, GMT. It's a humorous nonsense show like this, but on speed, so to think. And it's in a different place. So if you want to join me, you're very welcome. Check out, just put in The Vobe Show into Google and you'll see the channel. Anyway, good night. Sorry about my strong opinion. Don't worry. Don't worry, Julia. We've all... it's so... do you know what? It is lovely to see people with passion and opinions. And opinions should be allowed to be said and voiced. People mustn't shut people down just because their opinion... They've got to respectfully listen. And the person with the opinion can state their opinion, but, you know, nobody wants an opinion rammed down their throat at the same time. It's a two-way street. So, you know, it's great to see that. Linda Kane says, this is great, even more being unexpected. Thanks, Richard. Thank you so much, Linda. And thank you for coming to our SMT, by the way, our senior management team, such as it is, meeting and meal. It was lovely to have you there. And thank you for just, you know, your contribution there, because when you do this sort of thing, you never quite know whether people really like it or what they get from it. And trying to understand what people get from it is something that I'm desperate also to do, is why do people watch? You know, because if you can work out that magic, you can provide them with more. But anyway, that's for another day. Thanks for the reassurance. Absolutely, Julia. You're very welcome. Good night to everybody. Good night. Thank you so much. I must end. Not least, I haven't eaten yet. So take care. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you soon. There's no music and there's no sort of credits or anything like that. I've just got to press the button and end the stream. This has been an experiment. Don't forget to check out baldexplorer.com. If you want any of our mugs, we sell them at Redbubble, but there's a link at baldexplorer.com. But thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, and I'll catch up with you soon. There we go. It's done. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. So, how do I turn the stream off? I think there's a button here somewhere. Yeah, here we go. Oh yeah, I hope the wind does calm down for tomorrow. Bloody wind. Can't get out and do the filming. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye-bye.